The horns are blowing. Thank you, Mr. Mango. And I want to thank everybody for being here today on this beautiful Sabbath day. And all those that are watching on Zoom, hello, and glad you're here with us. I want to start out today by giving you the title of my sermonette, and it is Walking on a Tightrope. Now, you'll see how this applies in a few minutes, but walking on a tightrope. Now, it seems that if you watch any TV, any amount of TV, or in the movies, or if you watch even commercials in the radio, you will see that one person is doing something wrong, and then somebody else will go up and confront that person that they're doing something wrong. And the first person, the one that was doing something wrong, will snap back, and what do they say? They always say, "Don't judge me. Don't judge me." Now, I've seen some comedy shows where one of the character was wearing something that was just outlandish, and another character will be chastising the first character about his fashion style. And the first person will snap back, "Don't judge me about what I'm wearing. Look at what you're wearing." And it's a comedy show, so everybody starts laughing. And that actually is what Satan wants. Satan wants everybody to laugh at something that is serious, like judging someone, and he wants to make it a lighthearted joke. Now, I've seen other shows that were much more serious in nature. There was a show that I had watched that interviewed people who were in prison. And these people were in prison for committing serious crimes, robberies, beatings, drug-related crimes, and murders. So one of the guys that was being interviewed had committed a murder. And the interviewer was sort of getting on this guy's nerves, I guess. And he told him, "Hey, don't judge me because you don't know and you weren't there, so you can't judge me." Now, another show that's got the judging in it is a show like Maury Povich. Now, I don't know if any of you have seen Maury Povich. Basically, his shows have a woman that's on the show that has a baby, and what Maury tries to do is find out if this guy or this guy is the father of that child. They do DNA testing and to see who is the father. And there happened to be this one lady on the show once, and she had 6 different men on the show that could have been the father of this child. So after the first one was up there and Maury says, "You are not the father," then the whole audience would get on this girl and call her all kinds of names and a tramp and everything else. And this went on through all 6 of the guys that were there, and I don't even know if any one of those 6 were the father. But she would always yell out after each one was told they weren't the father and the audience was slamming her. She would yell out, "Don't judge me, don't judge me." And she'd point to them and yell back at them as much as they were yelling at her. So as I watched it, it just seemed to me that when somebody is doing something wrong, people nowadays think that by telling people not to judge them, it somehow makes everything okay. Don't judge me. And they think that if you don't judge them, then there isn't any light uncovering their sin, and they can quietly just keep living their sinful life. So let's turn to Matthew 7, verse 1 and 2. We'll start there. And it says, "Do not judge others so that you yourself will not be judged. For With what judgment you judge, you shall be judged, and with what measure you mete out, it shall be measured again to you. So it actually does say, judge not that you be not judged. So, and I don't want to be judged for my actions in this manner. So now, are all these people on all these shows correct that we should not judge anybody for any reason, lest we also be judged? Well, now if you took this to the extreme, then you can see that we could also make no evaluation of whether a person's conduct is acceptable to God, society, or ourselves. Such a totally non-judgmental atmosphere would generate such tolerances that it would be hazardous to life and limb. Nothing would be called into question, and nothing would be wrong. So this is where we walk the tightrope, as I mentioned in my title, as my title suggested. Do you not judge people, or should you judge people? Let's go down, still in Matthew 7, but we'll start in 15 to 20. But beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, for within they are raving wolves. You should know them by their fruits. They do not gather grapes from thorns or figs from thistles, do they? In the same way, every good tree produces good fruit, but a corrupt tree produces evil fruit. And a good tree cannot produce evil fruit, nor can a corrupt tree produce good fruit. Every tree that is not producing good fruit is cut down and cast into the fire. Therefore, you shall assuredly know them by their fruits. All right? So you see here that we have to be able to judge the false prophets, and we can do this by seeing and knowing their fruits. Now, if we also read in Ephesians 5, go to Ephesians 5, 1 through 7. Therefore, be imitators of God as beloved children, and walk in love, even as Christ also loved us and gave himself for us as an offering and a sacrifice to God for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanliness or covetousness, do not permit it even to be named among you, as is fitting for saints. No filthiness, nor foolish talking or jesting, which are not becoming, but instead thanksgiving. For this you know, that no fornicator or unclean person or covetous person who is an idolater has any inheritance in the kingdom of Christ and of God. Do not let anyone deceive you with vain words, for because of all these things, the wrath of God is coming upon the sons of disobedience. Therefore, do not be joint partakers with them. Here we see things that we should judge. So again, should we judge not that we be judged? Or should we judge when something is bearing bad fruits? Let's ask ourselves, what is the motivation for the judgment? Just because you don't like something does not make it necessarily judgment worthy. It could be that you just have bad taste. So of course, learning to make quality judgments ties directly to God's purpose. He shows clearly in places as Matthew 13, 10 through 17, and 1 Corinthians 2, 6 through 9, that mankind is blinded to vital elements of his purpose and plan. Thus, salvation is impossible until God reveals these things to us, and it's up to us to make the right choices. Yes, a person must judge. Another key point to remember is that if we do make a judgment, it should be done with humility and with mercy. And it should also be done that way by us and with us, remembering that is how we would want to be treated when we are judged. Remembering these 4 factors when we do judge and correct. 1, we must take care not to step beyond our rights as a fellow servant. Our rights only extend as far as being a brother and not the master. 2, we must correct for the right reasons. Our intent must be one of deep respect and love for the other. 3, we must have a godly attitude. We must be humble and considerate and consider our own weaknesses and limitations. And 4, we must correct in kindness and gentleness, remembering that we are trying to heal heal a wound, not rub it in. Yes, we must judge, but we must be loving, thoughtful, and considerate, using the standards of God's word and his family to judge righteous judgment. Have a wonderful Sabbath.